have a quiz in here. So we have been talking about a lot of different things since we started this chapter. So it's over the first 4 sections of the chapter. So that was like distance, midpoint, Pythagorean theorem. So those are, look at this. I'm telling you your quiz. The first 3 questions, there's a distance, a midpoint, and a Pythagorean theorem question. Then we went into like interval notation. So make sure you can write interval notation for something. Being able to look at a graph and tell me if it's a function, if it, and the domain and range. How do you know from a graph if it's a function? Vertical line test. Okay, domain and range, we know domain goes from left to right, range bottom to top. So we're putting all that in interval notation. Evaluating functions, so like I tell you an equation, I say find f of 2. So plugging a 2 in for an x. And then the rest of it is going to be the stuff that we've done the last 2 sections. So everything related to lines. So being able to graph a line, to give me domain and range slope of a line. And then today we're practicing writing equations. So that's the stuff on our quiz tomorrow. I will probably do a couple review questions when you come in tomorrow, not 14 or 15 questions, but a couple just to refresh our memories. Do you guys have any questions about what will be on that quiz? So basically everything we've done in chapter 1. Today we are, this should be review, talking about writing equations of lines. So that is something that you have done a lot of in Mrs. Keller's classes, Algebra 1, Algebra 2. You wrote your equations of lines. So we just kind of spend one day on it because we usually remember it pretty well. Remember, there are a couple different forms we can put our equation in. Point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So that's the point slope. So to do that, you have to have the slope, which we can find slope between 2 points. And you need 1 ordered pair to plug in for your x1 and your y1. Slope intercept is the one that we have been discussing when we were graphing our lines. That's just your y equals mx plus b. We can use either of those forms to write the equation, and I, in general, do not care which one you do. So on test or quiz, I'm not going to say, use the point slope formula to write the equation of this line. I'm going to say, write the equation, and you can use whichever one you like. So I will walk through using both, and then we can kind of decide as a class which one we prefer. So let me try one. So I want to get the slope-intercept form. Doesn't mean I have to start there, but that's what I need for my final answer of a line going through the points 1, 7, and 3, 3. So in your notes, if you're writing it down, you can just put your order pairs. We need the equation of the line between them. If you are going to find the equation of a line, what do we need first? Slope. Okay, remember, this is x in the first ordered pair, y in the first ordered pair. X in the second, y in the second. Slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We were using that yesterday. So 3 minus 7 over 3 minus 1. So I get a slope of negative 2. All right, at that point, you need to take one of your 2 points, doesn't matter which one, so I'll choose this one, and our slope. If you like the point slope formula, you can just plug into there. So y1, the y value of that point was 7. My m is negative 2. X minus x1, so the x of my point was 1. So your y minus 7 equals 2x plus 2. Add over the 7. So we get negative 2x plus 9. Do you guys remember doing that? The other option, if you don't want to use point slope form, if that's just one more thing to remember, you can use your y equals mx plus b. We need to find m and b. We have m, so you take one of your points, you plug it in for the x and the y. So the y is 7, the m is negative 2, x is 1, plus b. Add over my 2, so I know my y-intercept is 9. So then our equation y equals the m was negative 2x, and our b was 9. So 2 different strategies. Doesn't matter to me which one you use. How many of you remember and prefer using the point slope form? Okay, how many of you prefer using just y equals mx plus b all the time? Okay, so half of you didn't vote at all. More people raise their hands for the first one, so I'll probably do that more often, but I'll try to go back and forth in my examples, so whichever method you like is fine. I'm not going to, on test or quiz, require you to use one or the other. I just want you to be able to write the equation on the line. What if I gave you this question? The table shows the points found on a line. Find the equation. How many points do we need to write the equation on a line? 2. Does it matter which 2 points I pick on this table? No. So let's just take, I'm going to do the first 2. So I have the point 2, 3, and I have the point 3, 5. So, slope. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we get 2 over 1, which is 2. Remember, sometimes your slope could turn out to be a fraction or a decimal. That doesn't mean you did something wrong. Not everything works out perfectly. I want you guys to finish writing the equation from here. So you take one of your ordered pairs. So if I just go with the first one, and my slope, and most people use the point slope formula, so I'll do that. So y minus the y value equals m times x minus the x value. So y minus 3 equals 2x minus 4. Add over this 3. So we get y equals 2x minus 1. Alright, is that okay? There's one other form that we might sometimes see our lines in, and that's called standard form. We never use that to actually write the equation. We have to have like the slope-intercept form, and then we just rewrite it in standard form. So standard form is ax plus by equals c. There are some requirements for that to truly be standard form. You can't have any fractions or decimals. A has to be positive, and they can't all have a greatest common factor. So if they were like 2, 4, and 6, you would have to divide by 2 first. So I'll let you write that down, and then we'll try an example. So let's say I asked you to write the equation of a line, slope of 1/4, going through the point -2, 1, and standard form. So we start with either point slope or y equals mx plus b, if you prefer that method. So if you do point slope, your y minus your y value equals your slope, and it's x minus -2, so x plus 2. Just review. 4 times 2 is 1/2. Add over our 1. So we get 1/2 x plus 3x. I'm sorry, 1/4 x plus 3x. Can everybody get to that point? So then, to put that in standard form says ax plus by equals c. So the first thing is x and y have to be on the same side. So if I subtract over my 1/4 x, I would have a negative 1/4 x plus y equals our number, 3/2. In standard form, x has to be a positive. So to fix that, I can multiply everything by a negative, but we also can't have any fractions. So what would I have to multiply by to get rid of that? -4. So negative 1/4 times -4 is just a positive 1, so I just get x. -4 times y, so minus 4y. -4 times 3/2 is -6. I don't have any more fractions or decimals. X is positive. That's my standard form. So standard form, just write your normal equation and then manipulate it at the end to get in the correct format. Kind of a review from yesterday here. This one I'm asking you to graph it. And yesterday we were graphing our lines, but this is written in standard form. Can I just look at it in standard form and know how to graph it? No. What would you do? I would get 2y equals negative 3x plus 6. Divide everything by 2. So we get negative 3/2 x plus 3. Graph it, y-intercept is 3. Slope is negative 3/2, so we know we could go down 3 over 2, or up 3 and left 2. Can you guys tell me, like, what's the slope of that line? Negative 3/2. What's my domain? What's our range? Okay, so if I put a question like that on your quiz tomorrow, give you that equation, could you rewrite it so you could graph it and answer those questions about it? Let's do this. Last thing I want to talk about today is parallel and perpendicular lines. So parallel lines, that's like your railroad tracks, two things that never touch. And the only way they wouldn't touch is if they had the exact same slope. Perpendicular lines cross and form what kind of angle? Right. It gives us a right angle. So perpendicular lines, their slopes are opposite reciprocals. One's positive, one's negative, and they are reciprocals of one another. So if I want the equation of the line going through the point 3,5 and parallel to 2x plus 5y equals 4. To write the equation of the line, you have to have a point and a slope. If it's parallel, I know the slopes are the same. So first I have to find the slope of this line. What would I do to get that slope? All I needed that for was to know the slope. Parallel tells me it's the same, so what slope am I using? So now I have my slope, and I have my point. So you can plug into the point slope form. I haven't done one just using y equals mx plus b in a moment. I'll do that for anybody that prefers that method. So if you don't like this, just do point slope on your own, or you can say 5 equals negative 2/5 times 3 plus b. equation right now was negative 2/5 x y-intercept 31 over 5. Any questions on that one? So 5 is like 25 over 5 plus your 6 over 5. Any other questions? On the Math Excel, just as a warning, if you type it in, it usually says under the box whether it wants you to use fractions or decimals. So if this question came back and said it's correct answer but wrong format, just double check under there. It's usually written in blue. It'll say type your slope using a fraction or type your slope using a decimal. So it just wants to make sure you can go back and forth. Before you jump on that, last question of the day. I want to go through the point -4, 7 and perpendicular to 3x minus 5y equals 6. So, first we have to get our slope. Start with your 3x minus 5y equals 6. You have to get y equals mx plus b form. So subtract over your 3x. Divide everything by -5. So you get a positive 3/5 x minus 6/5. For the actual line I am writing, it is perpendicular. So I know perpendicular slopes are opposite reciprocals. What slope would I use? Close. Opposite means different sign, so this one's positive, so I need a negative. Reciprocals tell me you flip it, so it's -5/3. When you multiply the two together, it has to equal -1. All right, you guys finish it. Write the equation from that information. So no matter which method you use, if you do point slope, y minus the y value equals to -5/3, x minus -4, so x plus 4. Also, just FYI, I think one Math Excel question. There's one question that has part A and B. Okay, that's the only one. Everything else is a one-part question. But part A says give the answer in point slope form. So on that question, this is your first answer, and then it has you rewrite it in slope intercept form. So just so you don't get confused on that one. It's -5/3 x minus 20/3. So then add over your 7. So you get -5/3 x plus 1/3. Did we get that? Okay. Then I am done. You have a Math Excel assignment to work on. If you had issues with yesterday's, that gives you quite a bit of time to ask questions on it as well.